excellent, 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 excellent. So fun. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm really stoked because what I got in store for you today is another Electric Callboy video. So Electric Callboy has really become one of my favorite bands in the past couple years. And I've had, we got the moves stuck in my head all of 2023. And then they released Everytime We Touch, which I thought was so funny at the time. And it's such a perfect throwback, I think, to the average millennials youth. I really sometimes feel like they're making music just for me. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people who feel the same way, but it's just, I don't know. They're doing something really special. I think they're really, really smart about what they're doing. I think their videos are absolutely incredible. And I already posted the one for Ratatata, which I can't help but think of the Pokemon every time I say it, with Baby Metal, which was great. Just a quick FYI before we head into watching the video. What we do here on the channel is we look at the music video. I don't react to the music necessarily, though I will comment on it, but it's not about the music for me necessarily. I look more at the visuals and basically how the video and the music interact to make it a more amazing package. So without further ado, Everytime We Touch.
I'll still hear your voice when you sleep next to me. I'll still feel your touch in my dream. Forgive me my weakness, but I don't know why. Without you it's hard to survive. 'Cause every time we touch I get this feeling, and every time we kiss I swear I can fly. Can't you feel my heartbeat fast? I want this to last, need you by my side. 'Cause every time we touch I feel the static, and every time we kiss I reach for the sky. Can't you hear my heartbeat slow? I can't let you go, want you in my life. When I never let you down.
All right, I wanted to play through kind of like the first section, right? So I love this so much. I think I love this song a whole lot more now than I do the original, which I really liked at the time, right? But by far my favorite version. So we open on this beautiful castle, which Germany is littered with these beautiful, beautiful castles. And this is clearly one of them. It's stunning. So this is a drone shot. We're slowly moving into the castle. Really beautiful. Color grading here. I think it's a little later in the day, but it doesn't account for how yellow it is. So they clearly amped up like the warm tones here to make it even warmer. And that sort of transitions into the next segment where we join Nico inside here, where we have this beautiful light coming from the window, which I'm sure they had some lights outside to kind of amplify on that. But everything is brown and yellow toned and just really, really, really stunning. His costume also fitting with that. It's just, it fits the environment really well. His costume with, the silk shirt, and he's got like, here you can see he's wearing these beautiful pearls, like beautiful earrings, and like he's perfectly groomed. Really great job. And it's so funny because if you think about it, it doesn't really, like a classic castle like this doesn't really fit the tone, I suppose, of the song, but they really went for that sort of, definitely little queer leaning tone to this video, and like to make it a romance, a bromance, if you will, between him and Kevin, and it's just so much fun, and I think it's just the absolute cutest thing ever. And obviously it's Kevin here in the bed. I remember watching this for the first time and just being absolutely, on the one hand, just so gobsmacked and pleasantly surprised that a metal band would play it out like this. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so unusual for, you know, what's it's considered, you know, traditionally such a masculine genre to sort of lean into that kind of queer thing, which I really, really love. I think it's so cool, and for me, that's always been the thing that I personally love most about metal, is that it is a really welcoming space, and people are just like, just do whatever you're doing. You know what I mean? And so I never really saw that reflected in a lot of the metal bands, because the you know, that hyper masculine thing was always what overshadowed a lot of the other stuff. But I really, really, really love and admire and appreciate them for kind of doing away with that a little bit. And I hope it inspires a lot of other people too. And I'm also like, our generation's kind of cool. Anyway. So we have all these beautiful shots and angles, and everything's so well thought out. There's a couple really, really beautiful focus pulls in this as well, which I really enjoy, and kind of fits again this tone of the romance, and just everything is just smooth and mellow. We're just in that building up phase, and this is something that I say with every one of my Electric Callboy reactions, is they're so good at progression, especially also in the cinematic language that they use. All right, so then Kevin wakes up, so let's go back to that.
I never let you down. I'm living on your love. When you come in on me, my heart goes boom. Every time that I see your pretty face, well, it cannot be real, so please don't wake me up. Every time it's a train, don't wake me up. Don't wake me up. I wanna be by your side, don't wake me up. Don't wake me up from the train, but you're all that I need. Your arms are my
Okay. I mentioned this on the Ratatata one as well, as they really section the videos in chapters. And you can see that pretty clearly here as well. So we open on this beautiful yellows, and then, you know, Kevin's section starts, and we immediately have a very different approach to the camera work, where we have a lot more movement, there's more aggression, the editing is a little faster, and then we cut back and forth between Kevin and the band, and Kevin's part is still very, very yellow and sort of warm toned, and you know, it's almost as yellow as his shirt, the shirt that he's wearing. Look at how yellow this shot is. The color grading is very, very intentional, right? Because this and the band is very cool toned. It's almost desaturated. Like, there's very little color here, and they definitely amped up the blues in the shadows as well to really create a big contrast. And that is the constant thing that Electric Callboy does, I think, is like they have, and they're really, really good at it, is that contrast between the metal and here it's almost like a ballad, the way that they're singing it, and the dance part. And they're not only contrasting that in the music, but they're also contrasting that in the visuals as well. And to me, that is so cool and so consistent and just very, very, very smart. Oh, what I wanted to say is I have actually seen the behind the scenes. I think I've seen it multiple times actually. So I'm fairly familiar, relatively, you know, what they showed us anyway, like how this was shot and how they achieved some of this stuff, and like the amount of times that they have to redo every segment of this, right? Because it is, it's tough. And also they indicated that they hadn't really done, they had done some choreography for like Hypa Hypa and such before, but still, like here, it's not with a group of people. They were like on their own, and they had to perform as dancers, like Nico in the opening, and now the dance bit that we're gonna be watching shortly. So I really respect and admire them, again, for just pushing the envelope and really also pushing their own boundaries and what they're comfortable with performance-wise.
Your arms are my castle, your heart is my sky. They wipe away tears that I cry. The good and the bad times we've been through.
love that shot. It's so great. Yeah, this is okay. So some of the things that I wanted to point out. So this is such a great angle. So obviously they saw the ceiling is just so beautiful. We have to use that. So we're actually sitting a little bit lower, and some of this balcony is actually obscuring their legwork. I wonder if that was done on purpose because they were struggling a little bit maybe here and there with maybe some of the steps. I don't know, it's possible. It's also just because maybe they just love the angles and, you know, the symmetry of the shot so much that they didn't really care about this obscuring some of that. It's still very effective. Right, so we have all these beautiful angles. We have very, very strong lights. I think there's two, and I think they positioned them outside of the window to really make it look as if the sun shines in here and really creates, again, like it's a very atmospheric sort of vibe. And I think they must have had something like a smoke machine running to actually have the light reflect on some of these particles. That's how you create those rays, because not like whenever you have some sunshine coming into your house, it doesn't look like this. So you do need something in the actual air, like smoke particles, to reflect, to create that reflection and the rays. It's the same basically as, you know, when you're walking through a forest and it's like early morning and the sun is shining through the leaves of the trees, but it's still a little bit foggy. And that's when you get those beautiful rays, and they're trying to do, and that's basically how you achieve that. So, and another shot that I really, really love, they took the time to get this close up of the shoes, which would be easy to forget given that you only, you know, I cannot imagine how expensive it must have been to rent this entire castle or part of it to shoot this. So you're limited on time. They maybe had 1 or 2 days at the castle. I don't remember from the BTS video, but it would be easy to forget to get like a little insert of the shoes and him running it. It's another also great way to kind of show how much effort you're putting into these costumes as well, because they're very, very beautiful and nice shoes. And look at the symmetry of that. It's just really a very, very beautiful shot. And we have a little bit of camera movement, so it's not like it's static. With music videos, you see usually that there's a little bit more movement than you have with, you know, movies, for example, just to add some dynamics to it to go with the music. But it could easily have been a static shot because this is just beautiful.
'Cause every time we touch, I get this feeling, and every time we kiss, I swear I can fly. Can't you feel my heart beat fast? I want this to last. Need you by my side. 'Cause every time we touch, I feel the static, and every time we kiss, I reach for the sky. Can't you hear my heart beat slow? I can't let you go. Want you in my life. 'Cause every time we touch, 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 touch. 'Cause every time we touch, 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 touch.
Just a quick moment for that shot there, because they went through this a fair bit in the BTS video, and I admire it so much. It's such a cool scene, and I love that they really used as much as possible. I love that they really used as much as possible of this beautiful castle, because it's just unreal, and also like the level of maintenance and like upkeep of this, like this castle looks fantastic, like so well maintained. So we have the light shining through the beautiful stained glass windows in the back, just stunning. And again, like really almost orange color here. It's really, I hadn't quite realized how warm toned it was before, but really truly everything is almost orange, brown, yellow, you know, it's just very warm toned. It's very cool. And I mean that in the awesome type of sense and not in the warm and cool thing. Sorry, I'm such a nerd. So here, basically what they had them do the choreography walking off the stairs, and they're really like quite extensive steps here.
'Cause every time we touch, I feel the static, and every time we kiss, I reach for the sky. Can't you hear my heartbeat slow? I can't let you go. Want you in my life. 'Cause every time we touch.
So they walk off the stairs, and the camera actually, like, they moved it via the ceiling and turned around. So that's a pretty extensive camera movement to do, and to get that right with the timing of it all, like to timing of the song, and then also in terms of the performance. So they have to do those steps 100% right, then, because it's all one shot, right? Like okay, so we start at the stairs, camera person is static on them, and then they do their whole the moves, and then the camera starts moving, and you have to get that 100% right. And then we land on Kevin and Nico, who are now behind them, and as you could see, there's no cut there, so it's all just one move. So that means that Kevin and Nico had to run around the camera operator and then be in the right spot, which they marked on the ground, to make sure that they're in the right spot every time that they did this, so you can repeat and get it exactly right. But they had to be there, but they only had those like 2 seconds of this camera movement, and they had to be like this, right? So it's a very elaborate camera move that's quite unusual. But again, like, it gives us so much in terms of the real estate that literally that they're working in, the beautiful ceilings of this castle. So it's one of my favorite camera moves that I've seen in a music videos for a long time. And this is such a great transition. So I absolutely adore this because, again, it's a new chapter, right? We're now, if you're familiar with the song, which I really am, we're now heading into the I guess hardstyle part of the song. So we basically have the two of them here, right? And then we cut to this, they call this Dutch angle when it's not horizontal, but it's like this. So we're on a lopsided angle, which means if we're talking about like visual language, like, hey, we're gonna do something different, we're going to do something a little weird, stick with us. And the way that they're asking you to stick with them is because they are really carrying, again, that visual language of them being in the same position, though they've switched. And the doors are now opening to the new part, transitioning into this new section of the song. Okay, before we head into the outro, so we have this beautiful thing, and then they're all like doing the nod on the music, which, you know, they did that. And this part where they're at the bed still, they had them do it here. Oh, oops. Here at this part, which again they've switched. So in that transition between the dance part and the hardstyle part, they keep switching. So here they're switched back, and then they're switched again, and we keep getting a little bit closer to them too. See, he's even closer now. And it's all just looking really stunning, and they really match so well. They did such a good job on the costumes and the grooming here, just like really, really excellent. And then this is also one of my favorite parts, which again, they also really cover in the BTS too, is the slide into the room, which they had to do quite a few times because it's actually hard. You have to be in your socks, you have to actually slide. And again, you need to get the timing exactly right. So I'm sure they had to try this like 20 times. Also, can we just appreciate the fact that all of the band here is all wearing the same slides as Kevin was when he got out of bed? I only just saw that for the first time. That's, I don't know, that's hilarious to me. It's so fun. It's so consistent. Everything's just so well thought through. And I just appreciate that kind of eye for detail.
Every time we touch, I don't wanna be without you. No. 'Cause every time we I don't wanna be without you.
So another thing here is with the progression of the song, now we're back into Kevin screaming, and we are immediately moving into that space of a lot of camera movement again, just to kind of fit the tone and the vibe of the song. Also, everything is very bright. These white parts behind them where the lights are almost blown out, which we haven't really seen so far yet. So it really fits with like the, this is just the intense parts. So the lighting too is really intense. We're still very warm toned, because now the band and them have come together, so it's not quite as warm as we saw before, but we're definitely a bit warmer, and still like the shadows are kind of more bluish. So it's just a great visual blend of the two storylines essentially coming together. And then we head outside.
You by my side. 'Cause every time we touch, I feel the static. And every time we kiss, I reach for the sky. Can't you hear my heartbeat slow? I can't let you go. Want you in my life. I want you when I want and you get better now. No. 'Cause every time we touch, 'cause every time we touch.
Excellent, 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 excellent. So fun. Look. When in metal did we ever get like a full-on choreography with like dancers and all these guys in silk blouses, and it's just beyond fabulous. I love it. I love it so much. Yeah, anyway, I guess it's clear that I'm a fan. I mean, this was shot kind of, you know, a little bit later during the day. We have long shadows, and for a second, I was looking like, it's not because they have big lights on them, but really truly like all of the shadows are pretty long. Like if you see the castle here, like they're long shadows. So they definitely shot it a little bit later in the day. And you would want to do that because otherwise the light would be a bit too garish. I mean, even now it's already fairly harsh. And again, we're still in terms of color grading, it's still very warm toned, and there are just a bunch of great shots here, and I love this part. It's so sweet, the whole handshake thing, the fist bumps and all of that. To me, it also sounds like the way that they kept it going after the song was done. It sounds extremely suggestive to me. I've never heard anyone say that in a reaction before, and I've seen many. And to me, it always sounded very suggestive, if you will. And I don't know if that was their intention, but given sort of the queer tone of the entire thing, I don't know. You tell me. Anyway, it is just an absolutely fantastic ending, and they... Basically, we have two angles here that they keep cutting back and forth between. So we have this one, sort of these medium shots of the band where they're a little bit up close, and just going back and forth, and like just in front. And it's a little bit of a low angle as well. And whoops. This was the camera operator with the Steadicam who's just basically walking in front of them. Then we have this high angle that they keep cutting back and forth to, which I'm fairly sure is the drone that we also saw at the start with a really high angle shot of the castle. So very frequently, like they would rig a big crane to do these types of shots. However, I don't know what we're looking at here, but it's very possible that, you know, there's another level below this part of the castle where they could have set up a crane to get this type of shot. Then again, I think that would probably be too high. And there might not be another tier or level at all. So easiest way to go about it would be to have a drone. You would have to have someone who's able to operate the drone though, and like does a good job of it. Not everyone's a drone operator. And overall, this just looks really excellent. I'm sure they took a long time to get all of this right, get all of the moves right, work with the choreographer and the dancers. And that must have been, like, time-wise, you're only working with a limited amount of time. Now, if this was shot during summer, you have a little bit more time because Northern European summers have long nights, so you're not as pressed for time at the end of the day, which is really, really, really nice. Yeah, but regardless, this is just another fantastic piece of work by, the Electric Callboy team, Pascal Schillo and his brother Oliver, directed, produced. You know, they're a fantastic group of people, just really, really smart crew working with them who know what they're doing, real professionals, and just like they understand filmmaking and also like how to construct like these beautiful music videos. And yeah, I'm just excited for everything that they do. And I think that it's just really, really excellent, really great work. Really, for me also just really special. I don't know. I have next level love for these guys. And I hope you enjoyed this little bit of a breakdown of this video, more from the filmmaking perspective. Let me know if I missed anything or if there was anything that you hadn't really noticed before that I pointed out. Let me know. Let me know any of your thoughts. I'm always curious to have a conversation in the comments. That's what I love about this YouTube channel so much, and that I've really been able to connect with all of you over our shared love for these bands and the music videos. And it's just a special sort of, craft in itself. And for me, it really blends the two things that I love most in the world, which is film and music. So thank you so much for joining me on this one. You can choose to subscribe to my channel if you like more of this. And you can also find me on Instagram. I've also recently started a Patreon as well. And yeah. Oh, and if you want to share anything that you've been watching lately in terms of movies or TV, I always love to hear your thoughts and recommendations about anything that you've been enjoying lately. So just join the conversation. Thanks again, and I hope I'll see you for the next one. Peace.
Every time we touch, I don't wanna be without you.